right, let's talk more Astros now as they get ready to resume this ALCS. Pleasure to be joined by Geoff Blum, TV analyst for the Astros. Blummer, great to see you back in Houston. We're here at Fenway Park. You know all about this stadium, don't you?
I do. I've had some great games there. It's good to be on with you. And, as good as my backdrop looks, I think yours is going to win tonight.
Hey, initial take right now, what you've seen out of these first two ball games. They're coming here to Boston now, Geoff, for the next three. Series tied 1-1. Kind of a tale of two games there, two different versions with the Red Sox bouncing back in game two.
Yeah, and that was kind of one of the things I expected in this series. I expect the Astros to have a similar game against the Boston Red Sox that we just saw the Red Sox have against the Houston Astros. I think that the pitching, once you get past game one, game two, it starts to become a little bit of a patchwork for both of these teams. But if Urquidy can come out and establish that strike zone early and work quickly and keep the Boston Red Sox hitters off balance, I would like to see that. But I would also like to see him try and pitch in a little bit. Some of these Boston Red Sox hitters look a little too comfortable. Kike Hernandez is definitely one of them. But if you can get them to move their feet a little bit, it might open up an outside part of the plate to stay off that barrel.
How deflating was it, Geoff, as a player? You've been there before. They find out the news on Lance McCullers Jr., you know, he's likely out, may not be back if they do advance the World Series. We don't know that yet. But then Luis Garcia has to leave. As a player, how deflating is that in a series like this?
It's pretty deflating. And we know that Lance McCullers has done a great job of stepping up and becoming that ace of the staff and really becoming that guy that is willing to put the team on his back and give him a great start. So I think losing him was a big blow. But at the same time, we know that there's some depth there. And I think losing Luis Garcia, depending on how long it is for him, might be a little more demonstrative just because he's a big body. He's a guy that can go out there and eat up some innings. And so now you're going to have to thrust maybe a Zach Greinke into the rotation. A Jake Odorizzi is going to have to work his way back. He ate up some big innings to give that bullpen some rest and allow them to maybe recoup over this day off to go out there and try and beat the Red Sox. But it's going to be a tough road. These guys are going to all have to come together. But that's the beauty of great ball clubs is when you do have these injuries, you've got to come together, and maybe you get some of those guys that overachieve. But don't forget about the Astros offense. They have a great way of compensating for maybe some runs being scored against them too.
How much does experience play right now in this series with the experience that the Astros have? How far does that take you when you're looking at a series, you're coming to a hostile environment for the next three nights?
Yeah, luckily this team has the experience both in the postseason and playing in hostile environments. So I think it really benefits them. And the biggest thing for me, and when you see teams who have experience in the postseason, is they lack that sense of panic. They know that it's just one game. As hard as that loss was in game two, you didn't really see them panic. You saw them go out there, continue to have good at-bats, put some pitches on the Boston Red Sox pitchers, got a couple of swings in where they did put up 5 runs. But the biggest thing for me is knowing that they have the next game to look forward to. Eventually, you do get to that point where you've got to win or go home. But these guys understand that they have some time. They also love hitting in Boston. They love that big right-handed hitters love hitting with that green monster.
What kind of challenge is this for Dusty Baker and Brent Strom, for that matter? Back on the pitching topic, you've got to look up and down. It's like, what arms are available? How can we use these guys? Is this where the maneuvering in a playoff series and maybe the experience can hopefully pay off for a guy like Dusty?
Yes, most definitely, because they've seen that, done that. We saw Brent Strom, we worked through some of these rotations where he's put some of his pitchers in the bullpen during the course of a division series and then bring them out of the bullpen and make them starters in championship series and also in the World Series. So Brent Strom has that experience. Dusty Baker has his experience from, being in the game for about 5-6 decades, it feels like. So they're going to get their minds together and hopefully figure this thing out. But I also think it would behoove them to really bring some of these starters or guys that have potential length. Christian Javier, Jose Urquidy, Framber Valdez, have some of these starters, or maybe even a Brandon Bielak or a Peter Solomon who might be called upon to maybe have that surprise appearance and get that opportunity. Bring these guys into an office, have that conversation and say, you know what, this is a golden opportunity for one of you guys to step up and really take this bull by the horns and give us some strong innings and give our offense a chance to score. So it'll be interesting to see how this series unfolds for sure.
What's the concern level for you coming back? Although the series is 1-1, the Astros just need to win at least one to get to Houston, if not take care of business here. You know what this team is made of. You know what these guys are capable of doing, especially offensively. Would you be shocked if the Astros come here and still get the job done here at Fenway Park?
I don't think I would be shocked. No, not at all. But I would probably be shocked in the manner that they do it, because, you know, I keep talking about this offense, and I think we're heading into a portion of this Boston Red Sox rotation where they can be beat a little bit. And we got a good idea of what Alex Cora is going to do when he brings guys out of the bullpen. So I think it's really upon this offense to go out there and put up some big numbers. Unfortunately, you know, in a playoff series where you've got the expectation of having to score 5 or 6 runs to win a ball game puts a lot of pressure on these guys. But to go back what you talked about the experience, these guys are going to settle down, put together some great at bats. I would expect them to probably take a couple more pitches and really put the pressure on the Boston rotation. And maybe if they can get in that bullpen a little bit quicker, knowing you're going to play 3 games in a row, and really get through that bullpen and tax those guys a little bit so you can beat up on them maybe in that game 4 and game 5.
Tell you what, big stage, this team thrives on it. They've proven that over the last 5 years. I think that, for me at least, that's going to be the exciting to see how they react here with the pitching situation, the injuries, and you know how they react with the spotlight on him here in Boston the next 3 nights.
Yeah, that's one of the things I'm excited for. And I know you watch plenty of Astros baseball, like everybody watching the show right now. When they get pushed back up against that wall, people start yelling at them. They usually have a tendency to fight back a little bit and embrace that spotlight.
Awesome. Geoff Blum, always great to have you on Sports Sunday, a longtime Astros analyst. Great insight on this series, and we'll see how it all plays out here at Fenway Park. Man, thanks for the time. Great to see you as always.
I appreciate it. Have fun in Fenway.
You got it.